Well, welcome to this Commonwealth Club program featuring Michelle Meow and a special guest we have joining us virtually. I'm John Zipper. I'm the Commonwealth Club's Vice President of Media and Editorial, and I have the pleasure of co-hosting Michelle Meow's shows at the Commonwealth Club. We're doing all of our programming these days virtually. Um, so please join us. You can find out more of what we have scheduled at commonwealthclub.org/online. And you'll also find opportunities there to help support our virtual programming because we've got a lot of stuff lined up and we're adding more stuff pretty much every day. So that's my little pitch for the organization. But now I want to hand off to Ms. Michelle Meow herself. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, I love these things. Why didn't we think of this before? Zoom productions and these virtual programs. Just kidding. I prefer being live, being next to you, being with the audience, and I hope one day we can get there. But grateful for this platform. If you're joining us for the first time and you're getting acquainted with the Michelle Meow Show program, it is your A through Z covering the LGBT, LMNOP, and everyone in between. Our special guest today is a San Francisco favorite. He is a local filmmaker here in San Francisco, but his films have been seen all over the world. He's best known, you might know his work, Como the Musical, award-winning, and then, of course, one of my favorites, I Am Ghost. There was one that was, why am I missing this one? Oh, well, anyway, it's HP Mendoza. HP, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's
Hello.
bitter melon. You know what I'm tripping over is that I'm
Oh,
here at home, and next to me, my wife is fermenting daikon for some kimchi. So I'm sniffing that, and I know I'm in my mind. I'm like, that's playing with my mind. This film is not called fermented kimchi. It's bitter melon.
well, what's funny about that, Michelle, is that the title for Bitter Melon came up because the movie was originally called He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. And that was always a working title. Plus, I didn't think the Hollies would let me use that title. But as time went on, Rich Wong, who was on your show recently, we would laugh lovingly at the number of Asian American films that would come out that were whose titles were all just exotic Asian food, like American adobo, the secret ingredient is love, you know, and and I remember someone saying, like, you should make a movie that has a food title. I'm like, no, if I ever do one, it would be about the dysfunction of my family, and it would be called Bitter Melon because I hate bitter melon. And when push came to shove, the final draft of the script came through, and I was like, well, we can't call it He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. What if we just for fun called it Bitter Melon? And then like 5 drafts after that, it became a theme of the film. So fermented kimchi might not be far off.
yeah, I had it all in my head. I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed that film. That's how we got introduced. I decided to, it would be great to bring you back on the program because following your social media, I noticed that you actually were living abroad right as the COVID-19 thing started happening. And obviously we know that in Asia, it was people were starting to talk about it. It broke out there before it became declared a pandemic. And let's start with that. Like, why were you living abroad? I think you had plans to stay in Japan, and then that got interrupted.
Yeah, we moved there in April of last year. My husband and I, Mark, and it was one of those things where an opportunity was. It was a perfect storm. There was an opportunity to work in Japan. Mark and I used to contract together for this innovation firm called IDEO, and he went full time, and I stayed contracting because if I went full time, I'd never make a movie again. But anyway, so I kept in good standing with the company, so I could contract whenever I could. And so we've been in Tokyo, and it happened to coincide with the fact that my mom was retiring to the Philippines, and I was helping her move there. And yeah, we were supposed to spend some time in Asia. We were looking forward to, maybe even gaming the system a bit because, we had to renew our visas and probably game the system so we could work a little longer in Tokyo and then travel. I've been back and forth in the Philippines too, visiting my mom and just, doing mom stuff. I think ever since we both moved to Asia, I've seen her way more times than when we both lived in Colma, um, and it's because it's such a short flight from Tokyo to the Philippines, and it's a really difficult trek from the mission to Colma. So I've been seeing my mom a lot more, and what happened was all of a sudden the lockdown happened, and all eyes were on Taiwan, all eyes were on Hong Kong. Um, Duterte locked down, like I mean, like I don't have to say what Duterte is like, right? I will say it is pretty freaky to have everything be so militarized and have a shoot to kill order, which interestingly I think makes my mom really comfortable because she kind of grew up in that environment. She knows what martial law is like, right? But it also means that I can't take that short flight to Tokyo to the Philippines to see my mom. And the interesting thing was generally, and I hung out, I think, with like half of my friends in Tokyo were expats, but I actively tried to make some Japanese friends so I could practice my Japanese. And all across the board, the general consensus was, why aren't we talking about COVID-19? You know, why does the media make it look like, oh, no, we're doing it right because Japan, like this is just what we do. We're great at everything, and don't worry, the Olympics are still happening. You know, and it did fill us with this kind of strange sense of security, even though a lot of us were giving it the side eye. Like I don't know. Have you seen the cases nearby? Like everyone else seems to be going through it. Why are we okay? And the Atlantic and a bunch of other major publications started putting out this piece talking about the mysteriously low numbers of COVID cases in Japan in general. Meanwhile, we had friends visiting from San Francisco who were in Hokkaido who were talking about the cases over there. You know, Side note, that those friends who came to visit, those are the last. That was the last time I socialized. Yeah, that sucked. But anyway, no. I mean, they were great. I mean, it's great that it was them. Um, but yeah, so what happened was, you had the Hokkaido cases, and you had all these other things kind of sprouting up, and no matter what was asked on Japanese Twitter, it seemed like there was this sort of general sense of, don't worry about it, you got it, you're also paranoid. And I think the whole like you're also paranoid thing just kind of spread, right? um, so when the Olympics were canceled because of COVID-19, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. There was no real alarm, and then the next day a national state of emergency was declared, as if coronavirus had just appeared overnight. And amongst my friends, I can't speak for all Japan, but amongst my friends and what I'm reading on Japanese Twitter, there was this kind of confusion and kind of irritation. It's just like, okay, what do we listen to? All these mixed messages are just telling us one thing and then another. And this was around the Sakura Festival, the Cherry Blossom Festival, and people were just kind of defying the orders, and they were going out in droves. Um, and which is one of the reasons that I don't know if you saw, Michelle, but I kind of made that little PSA for that Japanese PSA saying, stay home. Like, and it's just shots of people wearing masks, but all like within inches of each other, thousands of people walking Tokyo streets. And yeah, what was crazy was we were sheltering in place because Mark got really sick, and we were kind of freaking out because I'd never seen him that sick before, And then I got sick, and so we were sheltering in place for 6 weeks before we had to leave. What happened was IDEO kind of foresaw the lockdown, and they knew that we had to renew our visas. So their whole thing was, you might be stuck somewhere, So how about we fly you out tomorrow? And we're like, oh, cool. Hey, how about May? Yeah, how about tomorrow? Okay, how about April 27th? Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, how about the 13th? And they were just like really concerned. And so it came from a place of real concern, Um, and I think a lot of people would kind of look at the behavior as paranoid or overly reactional. But would you say that to London Breed now? So we're grateful. We're grateful. We're back. We were given 9 days to pack up and leave, so we're going through like a little bit of like geographical dysphoria. Like, where are we? What time even is it? So we're actually ending our Japan quarantine tomorrow, which doesn't change anything because after that we just go to sheltering in place like everybody else. But yeah, we're back. It's weird.
You're back, John.
So what is, let's go back to the Philippines for a second. Are you doing like FaceTime or Zooming with your mother, and what is it like there?
Yeah, we're doing voice calls. She lives she doesn't live in Manila. She lives pretty far. She's up in Pangasinan. She lives in a province. It is provincial, and it's nice, very nice. But sometimes the internet just goes way slow, so we're doing voice calls, and we try to do video chats when we can. Um, but yeah, she's she wasn't too happy about me leaving Asia because we were really close to each other while we were there. But she does recognize that it's probably better here for me. Um, here in San Francisco, where I mean, wow, we've our cases, it's crazy. Like like I spend a lot of time reading up like the stats for other states, and I look at San Francisco's. I'm like, wait, there must be an error. Why is everything so low? So I like sharing that information with my mom. It makes her feel better. She's doing well in her village because, of course, they're under extreme. What is it? ECQ, extreme. No, enhanced community quarantine. Which just means it's enforced, which also means that there's a shoot to kill order. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so it's I'm living in Zoom, you guys. I think you guys must be too. Like we're living in my life in
Yeah.
split screen.
Yeah. Well,
We've all become Max Headroom.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, good reference. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know I try to explain to even family who want to do Zoom and want to get together virtually, and by the end of the week I'm like zoomed out, where I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to see
No.
your face through your computer, and I don't want to talk to anyone.
I know.
But anyway, speaking of Zoom, you did this cool video that went viral. Good Morning America picked it up. It's funny as hell, but basically it features just you and the four video quadrants of Zoom, and you make fun of the whole conferencing experience. And I thought it was so hilarious, and it's also so honest how many people actually don't really know how to use the whole features of Zoom or virtual experience.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was shocked. I posted that and just did not expect it to kind of take off. Like I've never used the word viral to apply to anything that I've ever created, and this literally kind of did go viral. And what's interesting about the video is I actually made it a long time ago, and
Yeah.
I posted it once on Twitter, and I probably also didn't wasn't playing well with the algorithm because I was posting it from YouTube, which Twitter doesn't like. But it got I think 2 likes, and I think it's because I was in a situation where I was in Tokyo and I was doing and all of my clients were in the US at that time, and so I was working at odd hours, and I was doing everything I could to make myself as professional as I could and had all my notes ready. And then I get on these Zoom calls. I'm like, why is no one ready? Like what? There's some dude speaking into a mug, and and there's a guy who's on mute. And so I had to make a video about it. I was like, this. My filmmaker friends will get this, and I posted it, and 2 or 3 of my filmmaker friends got it. And yeah, I just posted it again because I thought to myself oh, I'm back in Zoom land. Well, I'm just gonna retweet this one. It was literally just why don't let's just put this one out again. And the next morning, I was like, wait, it's in Fast Company. Why am I in Fast Company? And of course, all my designer friends are freaking out on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden, it's on Good Morning America. And to this day, it's still getting I woke up and this tweet has been retweeted by these people. I'm like, oh wow, that's what it feels like to go viral.
How many people have viewed it?
Let's take a look. Oh, see, this is one of the great things about doing these shows on Zoom is I can do things like this, look on Twitter. Here it is, 445,000 views.
Oh my goodness.
That's more eyes on anything that I've ever created combined. That's insane.
Could you play the video?
Your call is being joined by Jan. Entering now. Hi, HP. Hey, Jan, how are you? I'm good. There seems to be a little bit of a lag with the conference call, but that's okay. How are you doing? Honestly, I'm a lot better now that I have my morning coffee. So funny because my husband and I was talking about you. Oh, nope, you go ahead. 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 Boop, 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 boop. Your call is being joined by Carl. Entering now. I hate conference calls. These things never work. No one can hear a word I'm saying. Hello? Hey. Hi, Carl. Good morning, Jan. Good morning, HP. How are you two doing? Good. There seems to be a little bit of a lag with the conference call, but how are you doing? Not good. I was saying that I couldn't get access to the Google Docs because I don't have access, and the sharing access that you guys were giving me to my own docs. Sorry, come and get what? Carl, I'm sorry, Carl. Could you just come a little bit closer to the microphone? It's really kind of echoey. Echoey? Yeah. I was saying that I don't have access to the Google Docs because none of you guys gave me sharing permissions. I'm feeling really insulted. I need access to my own content right now. I'm the copywriter. Right. Too funny. Anyway, your call is being joined by... Hello? Entering now. Hey everybody, it's David. Hi, Dave. Hey, David. I'm good. How's everybody today? We're good. There's a little bit of a lag with the conference call, but that should be okay. How are you doing? Dave? Good. I'm talking to all of you like science fiction. Oh, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So your apartment back in Japan is just sitting there empty? I mean, is the expectation that you two will be returning there, do you think?
No, the thing is, the original plan was Amorphous to begin with. We were, after a certain point, we were going to play it month by month because of the work that I have here in the States. I have these projects coming up, all film/TV projects that would require me to be in Los Angeles or the Bay.
But kind of maybe talk about the differences in your own feelings, because I know you've been in quarantine since returning from Japan, but what you observed there and kind of how people were responding to it, which seems like that's how a lot of people were responding to it initially from around the world, and then kind of coming here. And then yes, we have an incredible mayor, incredible governor, in my opinion, who've handled the coronavirus pandemic as best as they can, and much better than a lot of other governors and mayors around the country. But at the same time, this past weekend we saw tons of people out protesting the whole shelter in place rules across the country. What your thoughts are? Go ahead.
So I'll start with what I witnessed in Tokyo, which was just this kind of I don't want to say defiance. It wasn't defiant, but it was more like this whole like, okay, well, we have to go about our business, and so you would still see like hundreds of people on the trains, and we would be Mark and I would take late night walks just so we could avoid people, and we're like, wow, there's still lots of people out and about. This is kind of freaky, So what we were wondering what things were going to be like in San Francisco, and when we learned that people were actually adhering to the rules, we're like, oh well, that sounds actually very San Francisco, you know, um, yet another thing that we can be smug about, right? We did it right, and so when we got back, we landed and it just felt so dystopian because like the airport was empty. There was one cab just waiting for us, It was just kind of filling us in. It was like the beginning of an apocalyptic movie, right? Like with all this expository dialogue to get the audience up to speed, and this cab driver was that for us. And he was just kind of telling us about like where to bring where to toilet paper, and would you like some Lysol? And what was interesting was we were so used to being in Tokyo where we were just kind of brushing up against people that it was just such a drastic change to just be walking down the street and just like watching people like make like these around you. I was like, wow, people are actually adhering to that. So, there is it does feel good to know that people care about safety here, but I know that we live in a bubble. What I even know what to say about the protesters. I don't even know what to say about people who are defying uh, the deemed necessary to beat this virus. But the one thing I do
HP, you've frozen again.
I think I
We're in the process of producing another video to go viral.
Well,
Well,
yes. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the other video you sent us.
Okay.
Which was the sing along,
Oh yeah.
which I love, and I don't know if we can share that because I don't know if that's an original song or not. But there might be rights issues, right? But tell us
Yeah.
about it. How did that come about? Why did it come about?
Well, so when that working from home quarantine video went viral, I was thinking to myself, like, well, wow, what do most people do with their own stuff when it goes viral? They like put like a tweet right below saying, "Whoa, did not expect this, you guys. Now that you're all here," and they promote their own stuff, right? And I know I probably should have promoted my own films. Um, but I was just kind of in this mood. I was trying to get a sing along going for my birthday, which was canceled, of course, And for my birthday, I was looking forward to going to this karaoke bar in Tokyo with a bunch of my friends and singing "Mr. Blue Sky" by ELO, and didn't happen. So I kind of made this sing along. I put a call out for anybody who wants to sing along with me, and yeah, so that caught on because of the other video. I totally gamed that, and I got a bunch of submissions, and yeah, I edited the video. I edited everyone's submissions together on the plane from Tokyo to San Francisco. So when I landed, I had a video to post.
Wow. Wow. Well, we heard earlier that you had some projects coming up. Love to hear, obviously those plans are put on hold, but your perspective of the film industry, how it's been impacted by COVID-19, and what it might even look like if you even have, the thoughts or maybe, yeah, any ideas of what it might look like after the pandemic.
Yeah, after the pandemic, those are just
Or
such
what does that
nice
mean,
word.
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
because
it's
I don't even know, like, I don't even know what if we're gonna get over this anytime soon.
Yeah, at the
I
end,
know,
we're in Colorado with the rest of the survivors of the stand.
right? Yeah, it's like there's no swinging back to something, right? It's kind of like after 2016, there was no swinging back for the country. It's like we're all pivoting, constantly changing course. And I think in this case here with the film industry, um, we're also kind of like feeling our way through, and not everyone's succeeding at the experiments, and that's okay. That's what experiments are for. Like, you should be allowed to fail, right? You have a lot of people trying to stream a lot of things to make up for lost butts in seats in theaters and whatnot. Like NBC Universal did a pretty amazing thing by putting their spate of theatrical films online, available for people to watch. So like last night I just watched The Invisible Man, um, and it was great to watch. But there was something interesting about it because it did. I mean, I love the film, but I did feel like, wow, I just paid $19, which is more than a movie ticket. But I guess I'm paying for the fact that I'm watching it in my own home. But that's a diminished experience for me. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a plus that I get to watch it at home. You know. And so what you have is that you have a bunch of film festivals kind of following suit. Let's also do the same thing and put our film festivals online. But the difference is, at a film festival, it feels festive. You have people who've curated for you. You have people hosting the screenings, people getting on stage talking about it, Q&As with the filmmakers. There's something festive that feels like everybody has this shared experience. But when you just put a link out there, I don't know who I'm watching it with. You know, I might be alone at that moment while my friends who also have the same link are watching it like late at night. So that's one thing that's happening there, like on the distribution slash presentation side. Um, on my side, it's interesting because I'm working on a couple of projects with Rich. We're working on a movie and a TV show, two separate things, and some of my other clients who I'm writing for and potentially directing for, all of a sudden are recognizing that maybe these scripts should be Corona ready. You know, and that is a real thing, because one of the scripts that I'm writing is this, action horror film that all takes place in one super packed nightclub. You know, and if they're looking to go into production anytime soon, we should rethink that. And luckily, it's not like the theme of the movie is nightclubs. You know, it's luckily actually anything else that I think of that could replace a nightclub might suit it better. But that's luck. I mean, what about the people who have epics coming out? What about the people who maybe have, like musicals coming out? You know, what's that gonna look like? So I don't know. It's again, after the pandemic, what does that mean?
Right, right. Well, we know that if it's anybody that can pull off, anything creative and small budget or microscopic, I think it's the word that you've used. It's you. It's you and Rich who could kind of, tell stories without having to do too much. John.
Well, I mean, when I'm thinking of the movie industry during these times, I think, well, how is it different? And I don't mean how is it as a challenge different, but I mean, how is it different from those of us who, go to work every day in an office and have, very structured, where you have a lot of folks who are similar to gig workers, though some of them are in unions. It's like, are the people in the movie industry doing any better or worse than those of us working in offices or working in stores and things like that? What's your take on that?
I've just been seeing a lot of posts from my friends who work those jobs who literally are just like, yeah, I don't know if I have a job after this.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, there a lot of them, and these are just my friends. A lot of them are contractors. So once things clear up, the jobs will come back. But I do have a couple of friends who work within the studio system. They're just like, I guess I'm a freelancer now. I haven't done this for a while.
Wow.
And I feel them. I know. I regardless of the industry, I know what it's like to be under the safe net of a salaried check and then suddenly having to go freelance. But I mean, once after the pandemic, I mean, the jobs will be there. So I mean, and entertainment it's being proven now that entertainment is more essential than ever. Like people need it. People are binging like crazy. And there's a friend of mine, Abby Don, who said something about like the whole, going permanent versus staying freelance. She was like, you just choose what works for you in the moment because it depends on the illusion you want. Do you want the illusion of security or do you want the illusion of freedom? And it's funny when I look at the people who are working in the studio system that I know versus the freelancers. I'm like, you guys are doing the exact same amount of work, So once things clear up, and I don't know what that means. Apparently, this is crazy to me. Some of the project that I'm working on, they're talking about going into production like in a couple of months, which cool. I hope.
Yeah.
I better write some social distancing into these scripts. Yeah, I think there's going to be like a little bit of an entertainment boom. I sense that there's going to be like a boom for animation, where you have people just like working remotely to begin with.
What do you think would be the protocol if there are makeout scenes and stuff in movies now? Are you gonna walk around with like a thermometer? Do they have to bring a bill of health, to make sure that they can do kissing scenes? Oh yeah, kiss through a mask.
I know. Yeah. Everything I say at this point it's just like, this is like throwing spaghetti on the wall to seeing what sticks, right? This is a brainstorm. This is all conjecture, but one can see a protocol in which you cast people and you quarantine them before you even start production, right?
Wow.
You do it total like Lord of the Rings style, where Peter Jackson just had like all the actors together for a while and just living with each other, for the length of the production. And I mean, that's a bad example. That's like a huge 3-year production, but I do wonder what that might mean for lower budget affairs like I do, where like my movies cost like $10, or just independent filmmakers in general. What does that mean when these extra precautions require you to kind of put people up, right? Like you'd have to make people live with each other. But how else are you going to get that makeout scene?
Right.
How else are you going to get those scenes in which like how are you going to do the Friends reunion? So I can see that working, but it might be relegated to higher budget affairs.
Oh my, this is like the resurrection of MTV's Real World.
Yeah, right.
If we go that route, because then that you've got content there too. So the making of this movie and then the actual movie.
I know. I do wonder if we're gonna start seeing some more like split screen stuff. Like you guys Did you guys see that concert that just came up with Lady Gaga and the Stones and Celine Dion?
I read about it, but I did not tune in. But that looks pretty cool. So what was the technology behind that?
It was literally kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's not much more you can do because really people just, have to perform. It was much higher budget, of course, because we're talking about J Lo and Celine Dion. So of course they have like, look at this squalor I live in. This is not Celine Dion's house. Um, but I'm just wondering if we might start seeing more things like that, or if we might start seeing more sort of monologue based things. Like I have been seeing a lot of theater that's being broadcast, which I think is pretty cool. And I wonder if that'll affect like what, let's say, people like Netflix might do next. Might we see like a big red N logo over the vagina monologues? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Will we start championing things that have fewer people on screen at the same time?
Right. Well, I really wanted to get your thoughts on, as being a filmmaker, seeing how this might play out, how it's impacted you, and it sounds like, wherever you are in the world, we're going through pretty similar, pretty scary time. And the best that we can do is really just lean on each other and get through this with all the guidelines that they're giving us.
Yeah, I do think there's an attention to solidarity right now that I think people kind of used as sort of buzzwords for even previous things, right? Like that was Clinton's campaign, right? Stronger together. But there's something different about it this time. This isn't just about solidarity. I think it's more about being civic minded now, which we always should have been. But I think there are a lot of people who didn't really know what that meant, right? I think there's something to be said about collectivism. Kind of, screw your individuality for a moment. Let's think about who those 2 or 3% are that we're referring to when we say about who those people are that might, that are the most susceptible. And I think I promised you I wouldn't get too heavy earlier, and I won't. But I do think that we're stronger together. In 2016 was about like, we're stronger together. Let's fight them. I think now that's not the message at all. Now it's like, look, do you want to live? do you have people in your life that do belong to that demographic that are susceptible? Then maybe you should think about putting aside that thing that you think you need so much and just stay put.
John, any last questions for HP?
No, I mean, not wanting to get too serious, I won't head further into the political discussions. Let me just ask you, you mentioned binging before. Are you taking this time to binge watch anything? And if so, any recommendations?
What's interesting is I haven't really had too much time to binge anything, mostly because the clients that I've had, and this is a good thing, the clients I've had, they're just rolling forward with all the business. So like I had a day off when I landed from from Tokyo. And that's, I am not complaining about that. I'm kind of complaining from jet lag, but it's a good thing. So there comes a time when you're like, okay, do I cave into what everyone's watching right now? Because I don't want spoilers as people post them. So of course I'm watching Tiger King. Are you watching it?
No, I'm refusing to, but I was like, I hope he's not watching Tiger King. And that's only because I find, people's description of what it is to be like, I would never watch that. Why is everyone watching that? But you're a filmmaker. You might have some good insight as to why it's good TV right now.
It's good TV. And when I say it like that, like, the phrase good TV doesn't always mean good, like it's definitely engrossing, and it's really easy to just binge that thing because it's just like, oh, these people are despicable. What do they do next, right? But and I get why people are getting really into that. Okay, so just to back up for a second, I do want to make a statement about something. Like, it's the concert that just happened. it's a real fun time to poke fun at celebrities right now, right? Like, you know, when you have like Madonna sitting in her bathtub with rose petals talking about how COVID is the great equalizer while she has like $4,500 worth of like moisturizer around her. No, she's not making a very good statement, right? So of course, rightfully so, she was torn apart on the internet, right? And then you have like, you know, Selena Gomez and all these other celebrities kind of making their tone deaf statements. And then of course you have this One Light concert that just happened where everyone's, you know, John Legend is performing, J-Lo is doing a cover of Barbara Streisand's People. And of course this morning everyone's tearing it apart, right? Because it's fun to do that, right? But I do think that when you look at who's tearing it apart, it's like, oh, well, these are other shows tearing them apart for how tone deaf they are. But what I'm looking at is, I don't know, I'm just looking at another catty person who's just as thirsty for likes and retweets by making these catty statements about these celebrities. And I kind of think to myself, like, you know, we don't always have to be haters. It was so great to me. It was great that Colbert opened the show and said, look, we're not asking for money. This is not like a telethon. This isn't a pledge. We just want to do this. And I while I do laugh at some of the stuff that I saw in that concert, because I was like, man, it is such a display of wealth. You should just check out some of the videos and just like look at the digs they live in. It's like, oof, man, you live in a palace, like Citizen Kane. It's crazy. Anyway, at the same time, I'm like, it's nice to watch something like this after Tiger King, because after every episode of Tiger King, I'm like, I need a shower.
Oh man. Okay, I might give in because HP says so, and
You'll need a shower.
I'll need a shower. Well, thank you for taking some time to check in with us. You know, I saw that video that got retweeted, made it all the way to Good Morning America, and I was looking at other people's Zoom conferences that I got to join in on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And so, thank you for bringing us some laughs during this pretty difficult time. And I'm glad you're back in the Bay, and we look forward to any new stuff that you got going on. We know you're gonna do real well.
Here's hoping after the pandemic.
Thanks,
Thanks for having me
HP.
on. Thank you guys.